Thank you for doing the interview with us today. I'm very glad that you're here. And I would like to ask you to introduce yourself first and why we're actually here right now.
Okay, first of all, thank you for inviting me for this interview. It was an interesting proposition. So my name is Ekaterina. I'm from Russia. Originally, I'm from Krasnodar. It's in the south of Russia. It's a very nice place, but I studied in St. Petersburg. I'm 23 years old, and right now I'm doing my master's also in Germany.
All right. Yeah, thank you. So my first question to you is, what were actually your intentions to study in Germany? Because you already did your bachelor here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I did a double degree with my university in St. Petersburg. It's Peter the Great St. Petersburg Polytechnic University and also Hochschule Stralsund. And my intention originally was uh, it actually originates from school because when I learned at school, I had a chance to visit Germany and also German universities, and we got to know about the German higher education system. And it looked to me really exciting, and I was really interested in continuing my education after school in Germany. And I tried to apply for bachelor's right after school, but did not work out, to be honest. I applied for like Russian universities, and there I was also looking for opportunity to maybe do like a semester abroad or something, because I'm also I like international sphere. I like big things, and it was also interesting for me to go abroad to see other cultures, maybe to I don't know, to get to know different people. And Germany looked to me as a very good option where I can accomplish all of these things.
Okay, so actually you already gave the answer why you decided to come here to Stralsund. So maybe you could shortly explain what this double degree actually is, maybe?
Yes, absolutely. So the double degree is the program where a student has an opportunity to study at two universities, and after finishing this process, have two bachelor degrees. So I received a bachelor's degree in international trade or international trade business at my Russian university, and also international management in the Baltic Sea region at Hochschule Stralsund. It also gives the student an opportunity to spend a semester abroad and also learn in Germany and write bachelor thesis also for Germany, like for two universities, like two bachelor theses. Yes, and at the end have an opportunity to continue the higher education, maybe apply for masters, or just generally boost your CV with already to accomplished degrees.
Yeah,
I think it's a really great opportunity for everybody.
yeah, that's true. So you are doing your master now in Germany, I think in Hamburg. Am I right? Yes. So
Yes.
what are you exactly studying? What's your master?
I studied at the University of Hamburg, and I do a Master of International Business and Sustainability. It's a very exciting program, and it actually broadens everything that I've learned so far, because in my bachelor's, the focus was on international business, international trade, but it was not about sustainability at all. And right now, it expands everything what I've learned so far and kind of guides it in the direction of sustainability and sustainable development. And I guess that's a very common and very trendy thing nowadays, because we all know about all of the problems that we have in economic and social and ecological spheres. And this is the future of the world to for businesses to care about these things. So that's exactly what we're studying: how to care about
Yeah.
environment and ecology and the social sphere.
Okay, so you have been a long time now in Germany, I think, and little question, how good are your German skills of speaking?
Yes, well, I was lucky to learn German at school as my second foreign language, and during my school time, I accomplished B2. Of course, right after some time of no speaking, no connection with the language, I lost some skills. But yes, so far I'm also taking German B2, and I also had to take a lot of exams to accomplish my double degree because I think it's a requirement for Baltic management studies, right? To do second language, and for foreign students, it's German. Yes, and the highest level that we took there, like the exam, was B1 plus.
Mhm.
Yes, so and
Quite
that's basically the level. Yes, B1 plus, B2 right now. So
okay.
it's pretty good, enough
Yeah.
to live.
Yeah. Can you already tell us some actual cultural differences that you could see when you came to Germany? So did you expect
Well,
something that we're like, okay, wow, I didn't expect that?
that's an interesting question, to be honest. I think that during the studying process, the cultural difference I can tell is that teachers, lecturers, professors, they come to parties with students, for example, they don't detach themselves. Whereas in Russia, it's like, like there is a studying process and there is private life and they're very separate, and students and teachers usually don't have any connections there. However, in Germany, professors join students also like after study, after work events, which is very surprising, to be honest. And when I talk about these things, like everybody in my at least environment, the Russian environment, let's say, is surprised by these things. But also I see about also, as I said, about ecology as well, and like how people like care about this recycling, about the circular economy, about, I don't know, just pick these bottles and like separate the trash, for example, or return the bottles. For this is actually this mindfulness also like struck me, and I started like taking care of these things myself even when I went back. I yeah, I actually enjoyed these things, and it kind of changed my mindset as well. But overall, I don't know. I think the people in Germany are also as friendly as Russian people, especially for foreigners. Everybody is takes care, at least, and does care about other people and their like needs, and maybe if there are problems. But I think it's also the same in Russia.
But did you maybe realize any strange things that we Germans maybe do that would be an absolute no-go in Russia?
Oh, well, that's an interesting question. I cannot give any certain answer to that because everybody understands, at least in Russia, that okay, these are foreigners, they come here, everybody's friendly, and it's just also interesting to see like the differences, for example. But I don't think there would be absolutely no-go things. We have some laws, like for example, about, I don't know, smoking. I think in Germany it's like people smoke outside a lot, but in Russia we cannot really smoke in like cafes or something because there are laws. But you will be just told like politely and nicely, please don't do that. It's prohibited. So it's yeah, I don't know. I don't think there would be any problems like that that are absolutely impossible.
Some of Germans say that Russians don't really smile, even in the bus or a train station. Would you agree to that? Like, for us, it seems like they're not really friendly. Of course, that's not true, but for us, it seems like. And Germans, some of us try to smile to strangers. What would you say about that?
Well, I would agree with that, but it's not a sign of being not friendly. But even though it might look like that, right? Because when somebody does not smile, it's I don't know. It's hard to understand what they think. For example, how they feel about like a situation or a certain thing. But it's just I don't know. It's just a vision. It's not like that. Russians are very friendly, especially when it comes to foreigners.
Mhm. Okay, so from your personal work experience, maybe, what is special about the Russian business world that might seem strange for us? And what do you experience here in Germany, maybe?
Yes. First of all, I want to say that I work in Germany right now as a working student. So I can already like say about some things. First of all, the most important thing that is it was at least very unusual to me is this distance. Again, what I said about teachers, but the same in working experience and in working environment, that the distance between like managers, bosses, and just employees or working students is not that hard or big as it can be in Russia. For example, in my company, we call each other by first name, and in German, it's called Duzen, right? By like you. In English, however, the like polite form and the friendly form is the same as you, right? But in Germany, there is difference, and everybody like in German, so everybody uses like you as du in my work, and I can like also call lots of like managers by their first name and do. In Russia, of course, like it's impossible. I think, especially in old-fashioned organization style companies, we have really like polite forms of our names, and that would have been used with a teacher or with a manager, and also like a polite like a Z, like polite form. We also have this difference in Russian. So that was a very surprising to me, a very surprising thing to me. But I also think like I said, it's about old school organizations, because if it's a startup, for example, or I don't know, some fancy IT company, oh, we actually take the best practices from abroad. And if it's fashionable abroad to call each other by like du, like you, and first name, oh, startups or like, I don't know, maybe creative companies would use that as well. But normally, this distance is tried to be safe.
Okay, so you're actually working right now in Germany, as you already told us. And after your master degree, do you plan to still work in Germany, or do you want to go back to Russia, like work a little bit there?
Well, I'm considering different options, to be honest, and I just think I will have a look on opportunities that I have, because my master's is in sustainability, and that is the problem, I think, in Russia, that it's not such a commonly spread idea or option, or I don't know, trend, let's say, even though it should be there, it should be promoted there for sure. But do Russian companies like need specialists like that? That's a big question, and if not, then I guess I should apply my skills and knowledge somewhere else. And Germany is a good option for me. Again, I'm very used to culture. I'm very used to living here. I speak language very well. I will have another degree in the German university, so basically nothing stops me from staying here as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So, what was for you the hardest thing when you first did the double degree? So, were there some thoughts like, I should stop, maybe I should go back, or were you like motivated the whole time and you were really, really safe that you will get this degree?
Well, I don't think there were a lot of complications to me. I'm also really good at like fitting into circumstances, and whatever was on my way, I was trying to do so. And the application process even started for me absolutely unexpectedly, I would say, because I was the witness of this, like when this contract between two universities was signed. And yes, I only had like a couple days to prepare for my English exam. I took it, and all of these things. I was very motivated, to accomplish that, to do that. And during my studies there, I don't think that I had too many complications, but I also think that it's because people who helped me a lot, starting from, I don't know, the smallest bureaucratical details. Like I think in Hochschule Stralsund, this program is called like buddy program, right? So my body helped me a lot with these documents and like all of these processes that are actually pretty hard to get into when you just first come to Germany, for example, for a long time, right? Because before me coming for my semester abroad, I had visited Stralsund twice. And I actually had time to, first of all, get to know some people who I will be studying with. So they also helped me a lot during the process. Like if I had questions, I could also ask them, and they were very friendly and helpful. I had buddy. I had also all the people who work for the university. They also helped me a lot during the whole process. So I guess even if there are problems or complications, there always will be somebody to help. And I knew that. And like after several years, I really cannot think of something that was not, I don't know, possible, or why I would be like, no, I want to stop. No, I
Okay.
don't. I didn't. Definitely didn't.
For you, what was then the most challenging thing doing the double degree? So, of course, we have the body program, they help you with everything, but was there some complications that were a little bit more challenging here in Germany?
I can tell about complications, but I think they're very personal because, like I mentioned, I was the first, no, maybe I didn't mention, I was the first person to take this program. And of course, not a lot of people, nobody knew how it's going to be played out and what is going to be in the end. And of course, at like different points, we had like points of tension, for example, with documents or with courses that I should take, because I had to take 9 exams, I think, in Stralsund. 4 of them were language exams, I need to say, but also a lot of exams, like course exams for like studies, right? And also I had to take some courses in parallel in my Russian university. So I guess this was but it was my choice also. I should also say that that was my choice to do things like on time rather than postponing them, which was also an option. But I think that the better time management, I think, could have been with me. But maybe with this experience, after several years already of this program, I think these complications are already solved. I'm not sure, but yes, the main challenge was that probably I overtook courses and overestimated my abilities, but in the end I managed. So
Yeah. So maybe as a last question, we can also do the double degree with St. Petersburg. It's our partner university. What advice could you give some students who would like to do this double degree? Could you give a little advice that they should, look for?
Well, I think the best advice would be to Yes, to form this vision, what you want to get from that, what you want to accomplish with that, and go for it without thinking too much and without looking back, and thinking about complications, because everybody is motivated to help students to get to know these cultures. I would also advise, if there is an opportunity, maybe next year after coronavirus, maybe it goes down a bit, to also take this university trip to St. Petersburg. I think it's a 1 week trip that the Russian students take to Germany, and also German students. Yes, we actually had a group of German students coming to St. Petersburg. Also to first have a look, to see, to get to know students, to get to know maybe professors, teachers. And yes, I think the main advice, just if you decided that, go for it. Don't think about anything. Of course, everybody on both sides will help you.
All right, then. Thank you very, very much for taking the time doing this interview with me. And I wish you all the best in your future and in Germany here.
Thank you. Thank you. It was nice to talk to you today.
Yes, I'm very glad.